I'm interviewing Jerlaine Quibuyen on women's rights movement. Hi, Jerlaine.
Hi.
So can you tell me about the key events on the women's rights movement in the United States from 1848 to 2009?
In 1848, the first National Women's Rights Convention takes place in Worcester, Mass., attracting more than 1,000 participants. National conventions are held yearly through 1860. In May, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton formed the National Women's Suffrage Association. The primary goal of the organization is to achieve voting rights for women by means of a congressional amendment to the Constitution. In November, Lucy Stone, Henry Blackwell, and others formed the American Women's Suffrage Association. This group focuses on gaining voting rights for women through amendments to individual state constitutions. In December 10, the Territory of Wyoming passes the first women's suffrage law. The following year, women began serving on juries in the territory. In 1890, the National Women's Suffrage Association and the American Women's Suffrage Association merged to form the National American Women's Suffrage Association. As the movement's mainstream organization wages state-by-state campaigns to obtain voting rights for women. In 1893, Colorado was the first state to adopt an amendment granting women the right to vote. Utah and Idaho follow suit in 1896, Washington State in 1910, California in 1911, Oregon, Kansas, and Arizona in 1912. 1896, the National Association of Colored Women was formed, bringing together more than 100 black women. In 1903, the National Women's Trade Union League was established to advocate for improved wages and working conditions for women. In 1913, Alice Paul and Lucy Burns formed their congressional union to work toward the passage of a federal amendment to give women the vote. In 1916, Margaret Sanger opens the first U.S. birth control clinic in Brooklyn, New York. Although the clinic is shut down 10 days later and Sanger is arrested, she eventually wins support through the courts and opens another clinic in New York City in 1923. In 1919, the Federal Women's Suffrage Amendment, originally written by Susan B. Anthony and introduced in Congress in 1878, is passed by the House of Representatives and the Senate. It is then sent to the states for ratification. In 1920, the Women's Bureau of the Department of Labor is formed to collect information about women in the workforce and safeguard good working conditions for women. August 26, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution granting women the right to vote is signed into law by Secretary of State Bainbridge Colby. In 1921, Margaret Sanger founds the American Birth Control League, which evolves into the Planned Parenthood Federation of America in 1942. In 1961, President John Kennedy establishes the President's Commission to the Status of Women and appoints Eleanor Roosevelt as chairwoman. The report issued by the Commission in 1963 documents substantially discrimination against women in the workplace and makes specific recommendations for improvement, including fair hiring practices, paid maternity leave, and affordable child care. June 10, Congress passes the Equal Pay Act, making it illegal for employers to pay a woman less than what a man would receive for the same job. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act bars discrimination in employment on the basis of race and sex. At the same time, it establishes the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to investigate complaints and impose penalties. In 1966, the National Organization for Women is founded by a group of feminists, including Betty Friedan. The largest women's rights group in the U.S. now seeks to end sexual discrimination, especially in the workplace, by means of legislative lobbying, legislation, and public demonstrations. In 1972, March 22nd, the Equal Rights Amendment is passed by Congress and sent to the states for ratification. Originally drafted by Alice Paul in 1923, the amendment reads, "Equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. 73. As a result of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court establishes a woman's right to safe and legal abortion, overriding the anti-abortion laws of many states. 1978, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act bans employment discrimination against pregnant women. Under the act, a woman cannot be fired or denied a job or a promotion because she is or may become pregnant. The organization makes a significant impact on the increasing numbers of women elected to Congress. In 1992, the Supreme Court reaffirms the validity of a woman's right to abortion under Roe v. Wade. The case successfully challenges Peninsula's Abortion Control Act, which sought to reinstate restrictions previously ruled unconstitutional. In 1996, in the United States, Virginia, the Supreme Court rules that the all-male Virginia Military School has to admit women in order to continue to receive public funding. In 1999, the Supreme Court rules in Colstad, American Dental Association, that a woman can sue for punitive damages for sex discrimination if the anti-discrimination law was violated with malice or indifferent to the law, even if conduct was not especially severe. 2003, in Nevada Department of Human Resources, the Supreme Court rules that states can be sued in federal court for violations of the Family Leave Medical Act. 2009, President Obama signed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Restoration Act, which allows victims of pay discrimination to file a complaint with the government against the employer within 180 days of their last paycheck. Previously, victims, most often women, were only allowed 180 days from the date of the first unfair paycheck. This act is named after a former employee of Goodyear who alleged that she was paid 15 to 40% less than her male counterparts, which was later found to be accurate.
Wow, what a tragedy. Did the women's right of voting ever win?
Well, some states in the West began to extend the vote to women for the first time in almost 20 years. But World War I slowed the suffragist campaign and helped them advance the argument. Nothing less, women's work on behalf of the war effort proved that they were just as patriotic and deserving of the citizenship as men. On August 26, 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was finally ratified. So to answer your question, you can say that they did win.
Do you think women should have rights?
I believe it is right for women to have rights because in this world there should be equality, and nowadays women do have the right to vote and other things.
I agree with you. Thank you, Jerlaine, for coming this afternoon.
No problem, Kimberly. I was glad to share my thoughts and facts about the women's rights movement.